Today we're going to review a Ferrari model car from the year 1977. The earliest model car I reviewed on the channel was, I believe, the McLaren MP4-5 from 1989 or the Eurorun from 89. But anyway, those are pretty retro cars. This one is even more retro. It's from the year 1977, driven by Niki Lauda. But without any further ado, let's get a close look at this box, which as you may know by now, is pretty minimalistic. But anyway, let's start at the bottom. Nice blacked out box with at the right down corner a GP Replicas logo in a nice reflective silver. This side has the sticker with the article code, which is GP14JF. So yeah, this exact car is the 312, the T2 1977 number 11 Niki Lauda. Second place Monaco GP of 1977. Underneath side, basically always says that it's a scale model and not suitable for children under 14 years old. Pretty mysterious box, but the contents is what matters. So yeah, let's crank it open, shall we? That is a very nice color combination, I have to say. I get why they wrap the spoiler in this extra piece of foam, because it looks to be pretty fragile. Let's lift this off very carefully. You see that? Wiggle. All right, there we go. All right, the first thing your eye is drawn to with this model car, the nice chrome on here. I have to say, I thought the front wing and the rear wing would actually be white, but it isn't. It's actually this beautiful chrome. That looks amazing, I have to say. There's another thing which springs to mind immediately. There's actually a driver figurine in here. And this is actually the first time I've seen it. I've never seen it with GP Replicas cars, actually. Alright, so as you may know by now, comes with a beautiful acrylic lid. I don't know if you can see the thickness of this bad boy, but funk, that's the first thing, the first term that comes to mind when I look at this model car. Front wing with this beautiful chrome-like finish on there. I'm not really sure what type of material it is. I think it's just resin plastic, but it looks like metal very much actually. Very small front tire. I think this is the smallest front tire we've seen so far. But this car basically had a 4-spoke. It kind of looked like a lowrider rim, if that makes sense. You know what's kind of funny to see? This brake air duct in a translucent yellow. I have no idea what real life material that would represent. If we take a look at this whole number 11 area, underneath there we can even see some suspension bars going on there as well. In 1976 they removed the huge tall airboxes, which looked pretty funky. But they had to compensate with that because this car doesn't have an airbox, an air intake or airbox, however you want to call it, at all. What this car does have is NECA, I believe it's called NECA. Those triangular things you see at the cockpit, those things are actually pretty aerodynamic air intakes to basically guide the air towards the, I believe it's 12 flat engine that was on in here. We have a couple logos in there as well. Mandatory sponsor of Goodyear, and there we go. Higher, and above that a GIP or a GIP, something like that. So the red of this car is looking really nice. It's not as dark as the Ferrari 643 we reviewed the other day. And if we take a look at the side of the cockpit, we see a big Ferrari logo looking really nice and swiftly. Next to that we have a beautiful font that says the name Lauda. Usually we see an empty seat with some velvet material on there. This time we see a very nice driver figurine, which I really like. The helmet matches the car perfectly, color-wise. Right, pretty simple looking steering wheel. So underneath there we have basically the sponsor section. Ferrari, Brembo, SKF, Champion, Ericsson's and Speedline. And next to that we basically have a beautiful metal mesh material. It's pretty reflective too. And next to that we have a small little logo of Kony. What's really nice to see is this aerodynamic section at the back to basically guide the air away from the tires. Talking about the rear tires, they're massive, they're huge. So I think this one has to be one of the widest cars ever made. If I'm correct, he also had a 4-wheel rear axle. I believe I've seen that somewhere. Right? Then we get to the rims of this car, and again, no really spokes in there. It's just basically just a can of alloy. Then we get to the rear section of the car with a lot of exposed detail. Exposed differential, I think it is. Exhaust looking really nice too. Some nice suspension springs going on there, and a lot more detail, which I basically don't really have knowledge about. Right, then we get to the back of the car, and there we have this huge crane-like structure of a rear wing. Very interesting to say the least, how this was approached back then. Very thin, just one point of attachment spoiler. 1970s, right? I think the main reason what makes this car look so funky, are two things. Obviously the huge spoilers at the rear and back, the huge size difference in tires as well. If you don't account for that, I think the car looks a lot more very early 80s actually. This is the second place in Monaco. I believe the winner in Monaco in 77 was Jody Scheckter. So as usual with GP Replicas, it comes on this very nice leather base, which every half scale helmet should come on too. Nice real leather going on there as well, black stitching around the Modelcar too. This time the plaque on here is a bit different than usual. This time we have a reflective stroke around the plaque, which is looking really nice. And that plaque basically reads 312 T2 1977, number 11, Niki Lauda, second place, Monaco GP 1977, limited edition, 500 pieces. And at the right hand side we have, of course, a beautiful logo of GP Replicas. Alright, so what's making the 1970s one of the best Formula One periods out there is the huge evolution Formula One cars went through. The evolution of shape came in play, aerodynamics came in play, they played around with that a lot in the 1970s. Why I think the 1970s era of Formula One is pretty underrated. If we talk about retro Formula One, we always talk about 80s and 90s. It's based on the technology, on the foundation they laid in the 70s. Do have to appreciate the 70s a bit more, because personally I just like the streamlined look of Formula One cars. Pleasantly surprised by the model. I didn't expect the chrome nor the figurine. I do really like that. So yeah, that's basically my review of the 312 T2 driven by Niki Lauda in the 1977 season. Monaco Grand Prix to be exact. So yeah, if you don't want to miss anything, make sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Keeps me motivated to make more stuff for you guys. If you want to keep up to date with the latest things, follow me on Instagram as well, and make sure you look frequently in the community tab of my channel. Put a lot of different stuff, news feeds, new releases, what I'm going to release next. All these kind of things I post on there as well. So keep your eyes peeled on that page as well. So yeah, that's basically it, and I just sincerely hope you like this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video as well. So thank you very much.